Hey there, welcome to day 1167 of What You Up To Now. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here with Supersize Your Business, formerly Pajama Grandma. I guess I'm kind of still Pajama Grandma, but my first couple of years online. And all I'm doing in this segment is documenting my journey as I transition from the brick and mortar world of offline real businesses, corporate America over a quarter century, plus simultaneously 47 years, that's just scary to say, of different business and different industries. I was involved in at least 27 different businesses offline, and I haven't counted the things that I've done online. And my original intent, as I'm reflecting on it, and I want to talk about reflection, altitude, flip switch, and what's next today. Just as a summary of what's going on with me as I'm building my online businesses. Now, I have had this and reflecting on it because our challenge for the 365-day do one thing every day that centers you challenge was about reflection and looking in the looking glass, and what we see in the looking glass, what we show the outside world is a reflection of what's going on inside of us, whether we like to admit it or not. If I'm in a grumpy, sad mood, it's not about anything in the world that's going on around me and outside of me. It's not about COVID. It's not about work. It's not about my peers. It's not about my significant other. It's not about anything or anyone but me. It's what's going on inside of me, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and that gets reflected out into the world. It's like I used to get upset when people would make rude and snide and disparaging comments on social media. And then I realized, oh my gosh, why would I get upset about any of this? What people say and comment, me included, and I don't always be consciously aware of it, on social media is a reflection of my thoughts, my feelings, my beliefs, what's going on inside and with me, not with the other person. So if somebody is criticizing and judging and name calling you, guess what? That's what they really think about themselves. Most people won't admit that. Most people don't even know that on a conscious level, but that's exactly what's going on. So if somebody calls me the Wicked Witch of the West, I'm like, all right, well, you can think I'm the Wicked Witch of the West, but I know that's not me. That's just your opinion, your judgment on me, which probably means that you feel somehow inadequate, negative, or derogatory toward yourself, that you would have to call me that name. So that kind of thing doesn't bother me anymore. I've learned that what people are reflecting is an indication of where they are in their own journey, their own personal development or spiritual development or business development or whatever else is going on in their life. There's been a lot of negative reflection in the last year, and will continue to be probably. There always has been, but we're noticing it a lot with all the business failures and all the changes that have happened with COVID. Now, for all the negative things that have happened with COVID, we don't always talk about or see the other side of it, but the exact opposite is true for many people in terms of they're doing better than they ever have been because things have changed in a way that benefits their life and their business. I can think of lots of people like that. And a lot of it is because they looked for what they could do, not what they couldn't do anymore. And I've dealt with a lot of people with chronic pain over my career and over my life because I too have had chronic pain pretty much my whole life, but especially since my 20s. And I looked to things outside of me to fix me, the doctors and the medical establishment and things. And when I realized, finally, because they said, hey, we can't do anything else for you, you're going to just have to deal with it or figure it, they didn't say you're going to have to figure it out, you're just going to have to deal with it. And then when you come back in a few months, 3 to 6 months, maybe we'll have something that can help you. Maybe something else will have come out of the pharmaceutical companies or from scientific studies or something. But for right now, guess what? Just go home and be miserable. Well, when I realized that there wasn't going to be any help coming from outside of me, I took back my own personal control and figured out what would work for me so I could actually live the life I wanted to live versus being bedridden and stuck in a place where other people were telling me that I wasn't capable of doing anything. Because, just tell me I can't do something and I'm going to make sure that it happens. So it's a reflection of what we think is possible for us. And then, of course, for Zig Ziglar was our idiom or our proverb for today: your attitude determines your altitude. It came from a list of 100 proverbs and doing the 100 days of proverbs for the first 100 days of 2021 to kind of get us jump started and moving in the direction we want to go by understanding what things mean, where they came from, and why so many people believe the things that they believe. Well, I actually learned and met and studied from Zig Ziglar back when I was early in my career, as well as Jim Rohn and many other personal development and motivational speakers and people that teach about success and all the things that you need to do to be successful. And his actual quote is, it's your attitude, not your aptitude, that will determine your altitude, meaning your attitude, your mindset, your mental thoughts, beliefs, and feelings about something, more than how smart or book smart or educated you are, is going to determine where you end up in life, what you create, what you do, how you live your life. So that was our Supersize Your Business idiom or saying for today. And I love that one. And actually tomorrow I ran out of idioms because I had one in the first 100 that was twice. Back about 20 days ago, I realized that, I've already done this one. So I knew I was going to be one short. And I decided that tomorrow, since Zig Ziglar died in 2012, and I really had a lot of respect for him, I'm going to just share 10 of his most famous sayings. One, of course, is today's. I think today's was number 3 or 4 or something on the list. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But for tomorrow, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to share 10 of those sayings of his. And then I've got tomorrow to figure out what I'm going to do going forward for what I'm doing with Supersize Your Business. Flip switching was the topic of our Get Up and Go challenge today. Yesterday we talked about what's your current change reaction. What do you do whenever you're faced with a change, a challenge, an obstacle, a roadblock, a setback, whatever you call it? What do you automatically do? And we brainstormed a list of the way we initially gutturally react. You know, we become a victim, we resist, we deny, we ignore, we complain, we bitch, we moan, we get upset, we get angry, we push against, we try to undermine. I don't even have undermine on my list, but we try to undermine things that we don't agree with. We look for ways out, we freeze, we don't take any action, we deny. So how do we deal with all those things that aren't going to serve us, right? Those are all things that we automatically do, but do they get us the best result, the result that we want? So we ask ourselves, what else is possible? And I learned a technique from Lynn Grabhorn, who I love. I've mentioned her before in her playbook. And I noticed that I am, again, going to be taking at least a year to do this whole playbook again. I thought I could get through it faster this time when I started it last year. And I realized that I don't work on it every day. I get to an exercise that I'm a little blocked on, and I stay frozen on that one until I move on to the next. And so it'll be another year that it takes me, or maybe longer, to get through the exercises again. I did it 10 years ago. I actually gave this book, this playbook and the book to both of my kids. That's how valuable I think that it was. And I don't know that, I think maybe my daughter started it. I don't think the kids, either one of them, have done it, but I want them to have this resource so that someday when they're ready for it, they'll go through it. And actually, this is my daughter's copy because I couldn't find mine. It was in storage. So I'm going to have to get her another copy because I've been dog-earing her copy and write. I've got a notebook, but I've been using it, and so I will get her another copy of it so that when she's ready someday and she wants to get to know herself better, she can do it. Again, perfect for 2020 as well as going into 2021, since my annual focus is to do one thing every day that centers me, right? And helps me to get to know myself better. Well, this is a perfect book for understanding what makes me as a human being tick and how I can do some of these exercises and things to make myself feel better. And there's a meditation at the end of each chapter. Great book. Can't recommend it enough. I highly recommend it. And of course, Lynn Grabhorn, I never did meet her, but her books, just like Louise Hay, excuse me, have had a huge impact on me and on my life. You know, yeah, excuse me, your life is waiting. Love it. So, flip switch. And that's why I learned flip switch, is what I'm talking about, is you take what you're doing that's not serving you, and you take just the opposite. Just like flipping a switch on and off, you go from dark to light. You can go from negative to positive. You can go from what you don't want to what you do want by just asking yourself, what else is possible? What could be possible if I were to brainstorm ideas of, I'm resisting this, what could I flip? What would be the opposite of resisting this? What if I just accept what is? Instead of pushing against it and saying that's not so, I just say, okay, that it is what it is. I'm getting a divorce. I can push against it, I can deny it, I can argue against it, but until I just say, okay, I'm getting a divorce, and I just accept it, it is what it is, I won't change my attitude. I won't change all these things that I'm doing with respect to that event. So what else is possible? What could I do? Hey, I could embrace it and look at it as the biggest gift on the planet, right? And so there's all kinds of ways I can flip anything that happens to me or outside of me or around me around in terms of how I'm going to interact with it, how I'm going to choose to interact with it. what's next? I'm thinking about what's next a lot these days as I'm learning from. I'm actually studying with two different, very different coaches right now. One is an offline coach, one's an online coach. One is all about, he's a badass. He's all about offline businesses and success, and he's really done it. So how you really do it from somebody who's really done it. Now, me, I've really done a lot in my life, but I still have a lot of blocks and things that I need to get better at. We all do as human beings, right? And the areas I personally want to work on this year are where my other coach is. My other coach is all about, mostly about communication and confidence and very traditional personal development, along the lines of personal development person. Does a little bit in business, a little bit in other areas, but why I am attracted to him, it's personal development things in the area of communication and confidence, because I even added communication and confidence to my physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships contribution. And instead of it just being contribution, I added 3 C's to add confidence and communication, because I think those are foundational things. Just like I personally believe that until we're physically taking care of ourselves and mentally and emotionally as well, those are foundational things. And if we're not taking care of our well-being and our personage, we're in big trouble, right? We can build things on a shaky foundation, but they're probably going to crumble and fall and fail, and they're going to set us up to having to rebuild those things. Guess what? We all have to do that. We all will succeed and fail all throughout our lives. If you think your life's going to be a straight trajectory to the top, you're going to be disappointed. And if people are telling you it is, you're going to be disappointed. That's not how life works. Life gives each of us a series of lessons that we're going to learn one way or another, and our journey is going to be different. Our experience, our processes are going to be different than other people's. And if we think that we can and we can model and learn and shortcut it for ourselves, but we're still not going to have the exact same experience that any coach or any leader or anybody teaches us. Anyone we study, we can do the same things, but we're still going to have our own lessons to learn along the way. We're still going to have things that they did that worked perfectly for them the first 12 times. We might have to do 30 or 40 or 50 or 100 times before it actually becomes our own and it works for us. And if we don't know that, if we try to put on rose-colored glasses, which I'm good at the rose-colored glasses, we're gonna be disappointed, and we're gonna want to quit. We're gonna want to just say, oh, my life isn't worth it, or this isn't worth it. And so we want to make sure that we're balancing that with what's real, which is why I like the two coaches, right? I love that. Okay, here's the way you can improve these two smaller areas and aspects of your life, which are foundational, but here's how you really apply it in the real world. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to tell you that I did it right the first time and that I'm so special and wonderful, only I could do it. You can't. Everybody can do it, but you're going to have to try a lot. You're going to have to do a lot of different things. You're going to have to take this 7-step process and make it your own. If you follow the 7 steps, you'll succeed. But each step of the way involves you figuring it out and making it your own. What works for you in this first step, the second step, the third step. And I love that, because that's what I teach people. And I think I can relate to him, because I think a lot of people think I'm too harsh and too driven a personality, and that turns a lot of people off. But guess what? Those are the people that aren't going to want to work with me anyway, and aren't going to probably do the things that they need to do to be successful. If something I say hurts your feelings, because I'm saying you're going to have to try this again. Okay, now you know what didn't work. What about this? What else is possible? What else could you try? What else could you do? What could you do next? It's always, what could you do next, right? Because I don't know about you, but I can't think of very many things in my life that I decided I wanted to do. I tried the first time and I was just awesome at it. I think of tennis, for example. I played tennis every day for at least a decade and got pretty good at it, but my sister could always kick my ass. She was always just a better natural athlete. She didn't practice half as much as I did. She didn't do anything, but she was still a much better player than me. So no matter what I did, I was never going to be a superstar tennis player, but I liked doing it, and it was a thing that I focused on for a while. And my eyes went to heck, and I couldn't see or hit the ball at all anymore. And so maybe that was part of it. My eyes told me, hey, you're not going to ever be a tennis player. But I still plugged away and worked at it and got my game better and better and better, so I could play on a competitive level with my sister. We ended up being a partners team, and we did really, really well. But if I hadn't practiced and played and focused on it and continued to get better and continually improve, then I couldn't even have been her partner as a tennis player, because I wouldn't have been good enough to even play in tournaments or to play and compete. So there's always things like that in our life, right? But it's up to us to figure out what works for us. She didn't have to try as hard because she was naturally a better athlete than me. I had to try a lot harder to get even, 80% of the results that she got naturally. And that's true of anything in life. So when somebody, a coach or a guru or someone teaches you something or shares something with you, it's up to you to decide, are you going to do it? And if you are, you're going to do it, but it's not necessarily going to work out the first time. It's not going to necessarily work out the way it did for that particular person that's teaching you that. And if we're not understanding that, if we don't understand that our life is a series of ups and downs, and it's a fun little roller coaster ride, we're going to be in for a world of hurt and disappointment. And guess what? That's okay too. It's always up to each and every one of us as an individual to say, no, I'm cool. I'm good right here. I'm comfortable. And if you want to be comfortable, and this is a kind of a little thing I fell into, I realized that being comfortable was my original goal and objective. I just wanted to be comfortable. And I always told myself, I just want to be comfortable. I want to do this. I just want to be comfortable. And I realized that comfortable was my comfort zone. It was the outer limit of what my desire was. And it wasn't until I changed my definition of comfortable and expanded my comfort zone that I realized I was capable of so much more, as are every other human being on the planet. Each and every one of us are capable of so much more than we're putting out there, than we're doing in the world. Even the most super successful people you can think of, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, anybody you can think of. Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, has done a lot of cool things in his life, but he's still capable of so much more, right? Every one of us, we all have this incredible human unlimited potential, and it's up to us to decide how far do we want to go, who do we want to become, how much do we want to impact the rest of the world, or are we happy just impacting our family or our community or our friend group, whatever it is. It's not for me or anyone else to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. It's 100% up to you. And when we own that, we decide, what do I want to learn? Where do I want to grow? What do I want to be? Who do I want to show up as? And how do I want to show up? It's interesting. What got me thinking about this whole thing is one of my coaches would probably, if you saw my online presence, would say, you need to erase and delete all that and start over. And it's really interesting because I'm doing that coaching program with my son. And he told me yesterday, you're going to have to delete all your social media. And I was like, yeah, that's probably not going to happen, because this is my journey. My journey is to show people that life isn't a straight line from where you are to where you want to go. It's up and down and all around and backwards and forwards, and 5 steps forward, 10 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 12 steps forward, 2 steps back. That is our lives, each and every one of our lives. And if we can embrace and enjoy that and really learn, I've learned over the years that I love when I screw stuff up. I love when I make mistakes. I don't know how many people can say that, but I made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I used to beat myself up for them. And then I realized every time I made a mistake or did something wrong or took a risk that didn't get me to exactly where I wanted to go from a risk-reward standpoint, if I got it the first time or two, I didn't really learn very much. I just would do that again. But if I didn't get it, if I didn't achieve what I wanted to the first couple of times I tried something, I learned every time it didn't work what didn't work, and I built on that and ended up getting much better results when I failed than if I had gotten something right the first time. Because if I'd gotten it a little bit right, I would have just kept going with that and gotten a little bit of results. But by failing and messing it up and making mistakes, I had to go back and really fix the things that weren't perfect, right? The things that weren't right, that weren't working, that were causing it to fail. And by fixing those things, I got a much better result and went a lot faster, a lot further than when things work out. We tend to celebrate and party when we have successes, but we don't necessarily reflect on what got us there. A lot of people will have a success and then they don't really know how they got there, so they can't duplicate it. But when we make a mistake, we stop, we pause, we ponder, we look for the lessons and what we can do next time so that we'll get what we want, not the mistake or the failure or the thing that didn't work for us. So those are the things I'm thinking of today. Love to know what's up with you. Share in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow to let you know what I'm doing as I transition from the brick and mortar world to the online world of business. Hope this was helpful. Just goes to show you that, real life and real business is about some of these things that we have to wrestle with in our life. Some of these things we have to decide. And I guess it's the right time for me to have two different, very different approaches and coaches right now. Normally I would never pick two masters or two bosses, but I'm very glad that I did, because I think it's going to put me in a direction that is better for me, because I have been battling with this offline and online tug, thinking that I had to just go online, and I'm like, no, I don't. I can still do offline things. Who said I couldn't? I said I couldn't. So now I'm like, no, I'm going to do a whole bunch of offline things, and I'm still going to do some online things as well. But I'm not going to say, all right, I have to go from the offline world to the online world and just be strictly online, when there's so many cool things I still want to do offline. All right, have an awesome day. If I can help you in any way, ask. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow. Bye.